Hey, so our website's coming along. We've learned quite a few different techniques and things. So what I'd like to share today is let's learn how to build a banner for our website. And a lot of this, again, I'm just trying to think of if I was a beginner, what would I want to do? How would I want to learn? What would I want to build? And so that's kind of the goal of this little mini series that we've got going. So let's learn how we build a banner. It's going to be really similar to our header. I want a banner that spans the full width of our website. And inside the banner, it might have some text or call to action, maybe a button, I don't know. But specifically, let's make our banner a little bit more interesting. Right now, we're just got a lot of grays, blacks, and this kind of, I call it red, but I realized kind of looking at it, it's more like an orange. So I don't know, not really set on this color theme that I've got, but we can change that up. So, all right, let's get into it. How do we build a banner? So the first thing we do is we come here to our code, come over here. We've got our card layout here. So why don't we make something called, why don't we make the whole banner an entire link? So we'll call this a.banner for now. And then we can make it link somewhere. For now, we'll just use the hash. If you haven't seen this yet, that basically means don't go anywhere. Just stay on our page if we click on this. Since I don't know where it's going and we're just building it out, that's a cool little trick. Inside this banner, we'll have some text, so we could maybe make it a paragraph. And then this paragraph will actually make this our row, right? Because this whole link will span everything. And then the text inside of it will be the text inside. So we could say like knives 20% off or something like that. Okay, so we've got that. And then maybe what we also want to do is add a class to this and just call this our message or something. Okay, so we've got our markup and it's in that, but yeah, obviously we need to work on some spacing. We can't really see, we can see as we hover here, our cursor changes. So we know we've got a link. So now let's write some CSS. How would we do this? We've got our banner. We could start, why don't we just throw a background color here? And what's on our background? What's our color scheme? Seems kind of like this orange seems to be like our call to action. So why don't we set that to orange first? See what that gives us. Nothing. Okay, so this kind of goes back to our different styles or blocks or display property. Right now our links, they're just inline. So even though we put stuff inside of it, nothing might not show up unless we give it maybe a height or a specific width. So if I were to put like display block here, now we finally see it because now it's going to span its entire thing. Whereas when it's inline, it just kind of floats to wherever it is on the page. So we always kind of need to remember that. So that's a good little gotcha. So we got our display block. Okay, so this, again, this goes back to our link. We need to style that up. So we can say text decoration, none. And then we want maybe the color to be white here. This color. Okay, so now it's kind of matching all this stuff, but we want to make this a little different. So first we should center the text and make that bigger. So here we can say text align center. I don't know if this helps or not. Is that kind of annoying? Maybe we should just do this so we're not having to go back and forth. And then let's make our, since we've got our text inside of here, let's do this. And then let's give this a font size of, I don't know, maybe 25 pixels or something. So it's a little bigger. And then what else would I do here? I'd probably add a little bit of padding on the top and bottom of our banner. Maybe 20 pixels padding. Okay, that's starting to look okay. And we probably don't want this right up against our cards. So we can come up here to our cards and just put a margin bottom on this, maybe of like 50 pixels. Okay, so what we should do, we want to find, this is going to be kind of the cool trick of the video. We want to add a texture. So where do we go to get textures? So one place I really like, there's several of them, but there's something called transparent textures. Yeah, transparent textures. So this site's really cool. You find the color that you want, and it could be our theme. So in this case, we know we're kind of using this red. So why don't we just use that? So there's our red, or in this case, orange. I keep calling it red, but and we find a texture we want. So to make this brief, I like this texture. I tend to gravitate towards this, and this kind of reminds me of like a crisscross thing, something that like a knife would slash. So let's download this. Okay, so there's our texture, but now we need to get that into our project. So it's named always gray. I'm just going to rename this to texture and then banner. So I'm a little bit specific with my naming. I like to keep stuff, like if I know I'm using a bunch of textures, I want to know right where all my textures are. So I'm going to name it that, and then what is the texture that it is. I could name it specific to the element like I'm doing here, or I could name it maybe what this represents. So yeah, always try to be a little thoughtful with your naming. Don't just take, just because it downloaded as that doesn't mean you have to keep it that. So we've got our texture. So now what do we need to do? Let's come over here and let's say we need to put what's called, we've got our background color, but we also need to specify the background or background image. I'll get into the shorthands and stuff when we start going over CSS, but for now, we're going to be pretty specific and just say we want a background image and we want the URL of it to be, I think it should show. So what I'm doing to do that is I do Control Space and it shows up what's available for me to put in here. So we'll just do that, save it, and there it is. So it's already repeating. You can always come over here and see what's happening with our background. Like I believe if we click on computed, I don't remember what the defaults are. I know if you just set it as background, maybe this will help us so we can see. Yeah, so if you can see here, if we should set the shorthand to background, you can see the image, the position, everything. So by default, it's just going to repeat X and Y, so it'll repeat both. But in this case, I just want the background image. I don't want to set the defaults and everything else because I've got my color here. So I'll also show you some other tricks with that. But okay, so there's kind of a cool looking texture. So you can cruise that site, find something that's unique to you or something that looks like it applies to the project. And now we've created a full width banner. Again, we could apply some other styles here, like a hover or focus event, which we should probably do so we know that this is a clickable element other than just hovering over it. That would be one way to improve it. But yeah, I hope you found this useful and somewhat interesting. Okay, I'll catch you in the next one, and let me know in the comments if you want me to cover a specific element or build something that you'd like to see. Okay, later.